Getting a solo Aatrox kill can be tough, whether you need it for the title or even going for a solo flawless, but there's certain things you can do to make this easier. I'll be splitting this video into 4 parts: loadouts, pre-DPS, during DPS, and also an alternative during DPS method which is easier but slower. So let's get into it. First up, loadouts. At the very least you want 2 of these, again for pre and during DPS. I went with Titan here and it is my personal recommendation, but most of the things can be adapted to use on the other classes. The pre-DPS loadout should focus on survivability, and have no mods which drain armor charges over time. A huge help for me was a glaive, forthcoming deviants being my number 1 choice, but anything will work, and also use an exotic class item with Spirit of Synthoceps. Both of these things also come with a benefit of being class neutral. The entire pre-DPS phase can be completed easily with a glaive, including taking out any clones and adds. Also, the Prismatic Fragment Facet of Blessing will provide sustain on all melee kills, including those with glaives. And finally, glaives can block, which can get you out of bad situations, especially in the red room. The other weapon I used was a kinetic slot trace rifle. This is really just to easily tag the operator buttons. But importantly, this has to be a special ammo weapon, so that when we swap to the DPS loadout, which also utilises double special, no ammo is lost. And for heavy weapon Anarchy, the alternative DPS strat will be using Leviathan's Breath instead. So if you're going with that plan, just use that in both loadouts instead. Armor mods are focused on survivability, ammo gen and orb gen. Here's a full list. Critically run, matching siphons and heavy handed ×3 for orb generation. Arc resist and melee resist for DR, recuperation and better already for survivability, and special ammo finisher as a method of holding onto armor charges without them decaying over time. The class setup will need to be the same as the during DPS setup, so no energy is lost upon swapping. So moving into the DPS loadout, here is what you want, at least for Titan. The Super Thunder Crash, melee Frenzied Blades and Grenade go for Glacier. Aspects a combination of Knockout and Consecration, which I'm sure nobody saw coming. And for fragments, I've already mentioned Facet of Blessing for melee sustain. The other options you should use are Facet of Dawn for Radiant on melee, Facet of Protection for damage resist when surrounded, Facet of Hope for more frequent class abilities, and Facet of Awakening for pickups which will cycle abilities quickly. The last 2 can be swapped out if it's something you prefer, but they did help out, and Awakening also gives plus 10 resil. For weapons, Anarchy remains the same, but my supplementary DPS options I went with Lost Signal with auto loading and Vorpal, alongside Indebted Kindness with Lead from Gold and Surrounded. Armor mod setup has also completely changed. Instead of an exotic class item, instead use Cuirass, as this will not only increase Thunder Crash damage, but allow it to be regened very quickly with melee kills. And the mod setup now focuses on weapon surge and super generation. Stack hands-on and heavy-handed, keep arc resist and melee resist, and use all copies of arc weapon surge, and elemental time dilation to make these surges last longer. Here's the artifact setup I used too. Critically, concussive reload and rapid impacts to benefit grenade launchers, and the refined tonic of weakening void to unlock their full effects. So that's all the loadout stuff covered. I will also include dim links if you just want to copy it one to one. Onto the encounter itself, what I will do now is just come over a run leading up to damage with what I was doing throughout. So then, going into pre-damage, here's what you want to do. Always be focused on your next objective. So in this starting room, you want to get the suppressor buff, kill the clones, get the scanner buff, find the correct number, then shoot at panels as quickly as possible. The adds are kind of just a distraction you can just take out of the glaive as you move around. So the suppressor part, what I do is place it directly in the middle of the arena, which makes taking out 2 clones at once possible. Just do this a couple of times and you will have this done. In the meantime, I'm just going around killing adds if they're easy enough to do, because it just makes staying alive much easier. But again, you don't have to worry about the adds that much because they will just keep respawning. I always deposit suppressor in this one terminal as it makes picking it up more convenient downstairs. So again, scanners next. Just running around, killing adds again as normal, just looking for the matching number. So here it's 1. Again, scanner, I will always place it in this right terminal. Now just knowing where the numbers are, even at this point I'm not 100% sure on all the locations, but it's easy enough just to find them anyway. Usually there's 3 on the left side and 1 on the right side, if you're struggling to find the last button. Now that's done, it's just going to the lower floors. You can check what side the boss is on by the glowing sirens, and then just straight down. With the clones as well, when you're going to a room, if you do see a clone like beelining straight to a room, just like let it run ahead. Don't try and run alongside it, because that's how you like build up a lot of radiation stacks. And when in a room, either the blue or the red one, it's basically the same. Just try and get the room locked as soon as possible, because this stops more clones getting into the room. And then for finding the correct clone, this is where glaive's also quite helpful, because you can use it to block if you need to. You can use it just to melee, just like lock on close enough to the targets. And when you find the right one, it is just 4 swipes and it dies. In the first room, you can put the scanner back as well. If you're in a bit of a situation where you're quite low health though, don't bother doing this, because it is quite easy to get back. Then just deposit the nuke and you're pretty much good to go. Now when moving to the second room, there is one difference you can make which does make it a fair bit easier. Instead of going straight there, pick up the suppressor in the room you're currently in, because this means on the way to the second room, you can suppress the clones. You don't even have to kill them on the way, you can just take off their like, immunity shield, so that when you do get to the second room, you can kill them all off straight away. Now just be careful of radiation here, because it can get a bit sketchy. This is why having suppressor is nice here as well, because again, you can just basically disable the clones where you are. So now, before going into this red room, which is the more difficult of the 2 rooms, all the clones are instantly disabled. So go and deposit the suppressor at this point, and go straight to operator. Again, because of where we've deposited upstairs, the starting locations will always be the same, which is quite nice for this operator here, because like behind this staircase you are pretty much safe. Even the clones won't fully follow you in. I'll post another clip where I do red room first as well, just to show how it may be a bit different, but as long as you stay in this corner, you are pretty safe. And as well, for picking up scanner, this will still be in the same spot. This corner up here as well is also pretty good. Again, using this Titan class ability does help out a lot, but you can hide like right in the back corner. The process for finding the clones is the same. Just run at them with a glaive. 4 hits will kill it, easy enough. And this is one of the better clones to get. If it is on the other side, you might have to play a bit careful, block if you need to. And if you do get like a bad clone, like the 3rd or 4th option, even if this is your first room, just run straight into the deposit. Don't worry about like trying to lose your scanner buff. It's just not needed at all, it might get you killed. And that's really it. Now you're onto the damage phase. Okay, so in this clip, I have a red room first. So I won't bother with suppressor this time at all, I'll just go straight for operator. And from this corner, try and tag the 4 buttons as soon as possible. Like here I did get damaged, but just hiding under this staircase means you are completely safe. So that's the 4 buttons done. Again, like before, just moving straight to scanner as soon as possible. Just run straight through the middle of the room, the boss shouldn't really tag you too much. Now this was one of the harder clones to get, the 3rd or 4th, and I was quite low health at this point. And you can go into this cupboard here, either like use your glacier grenade or class ability, and you'll be fine, nothing will tag you here. Now I'm just checking the remaining 2 clones. I don't know why the one fell off, but here we are. And I did still have scanner and was under a little bit of pressure there. I probably could have deposited it, but it's better just to play safe. I just run straight into the chamber and just go and pick up scanner when going to the next room. And where scanner spawns, you just want to go beyond the next room into like the ad spawning chamber. And there'll be a vandal there with a scanner buff, which you can just quickly take out, pick it up, and then return to the room you need to be in. Now damage itself. There does appear to be a lot going on here, but it is a set pattern of attacks which you can use to better position yourself throughout. Again, I'll come over a full DPS cycle. So the DPS phase itself, you want to loadout swap as you're in the chamber just about to enter damage. You get time here to do it. And then I'll always do the same start here. Weaken it with a grenade, throw an anarchy shot, super directly into it, and then activate Transcendent. There will always be the 1 clone on the left side here which you can take out to activate Radiant as well, because it's a powered melee. And then you just want to cycle your grenades on the boss at all times pretty much. Both are damage over time options, so work pretty well. These ads will also spawn here at the same time every time, so basically start left, kill that clone, damage a boss, then go right and kill the clones as soon as they spawn in. At this point again, I'm just trying to damage a boss as much as I can while staying alive. You can stay on the top platforms here or jump down. The main thing you just have to be aware of is the lightning. Try and stay off the ground as much as possible, and this shouldn't really be too much of a problem. And because of the clone melee kills, this gets your super back really quickly. So I was able to get a second Thunder Crash in there before the nuke deposit point. And now the nuke clone is also dead, so I'm just waiting for the bunker to open. And then just go in as soon as you can, pretty much. Now because the damage here was quite good, I do already have the full Transcendent meter built back up. If you don't have this, you want to use your Lost Signal as much as possible to try and get to Transcendent, because it really helps out. But the second damage phase is basically the same as the first. So you want to start off on the left, kill that one clone what's there, spend some time getting damage in on the boss, and then on the right platform, clones will be spawning in pretty soon. As you can see, they spawned in right here. Again, spawn kill these as fast as possible, this will get your super energy, and then it's back to damaging the boss. This is exactly the same as the pre-nuke phase pretty much. Got an extra Thunder Crash. There won't be too long left in this damage phase, it is a little bit shorter than the first, but just use this time to get in some extra damage. You can see that what I did here was probably a comfortable 3 phase realistically. You can get a 2 phase if everything's perfect, but don't really expect that. And it can be a 4 if you just want to play it a bit safe, which I do recommend if you're going for a solo flawless. Now I will admit it can be quite daunting and will require practice to pull off, but it is the most fun and effective way to deal damage. However, there is an easier but slower strat. Similar setup in Pre-dps but on Solar Titan itself. Solar Warlock also works for this method. Hunters, I'm not too sure. On Solar Titan, throwing hammers and glaives can do all the work pre-DPS, and during DPS it's straight to be above the bunker cheese spot. Dump all Leviathan's ammo behind a Lorelei barricade or in a well of radiance, and then look to take out the glowing clone just before the bunker opens so you can deposit the nuke. During the bunker, swap to Choir of 1 as you will have no heavy ammo remaining at this point. Then it's back to the cheese spot and plink away for the second half of DPS. You could use a sniper here or really anything as long as it has the range and consistent DPS. This does around 3 million per phase, which does mean you're looking at a 6 phase, potentially 5 if you hit well, but it is a lot easier to execute. Best of luck in getting your solo Aatrax clear. It is very possible but not easy. Still, my best advice is to get the practice in, and you will get there eventually. Thank you for watching.